Right, so we're day number 2 on this exhaust manifold, so let's crack the fuck on. Right, so yesterday when we left this exhaust manifold, I was pretty happy with that first runner, and I was getting ready to connect that one over with some bandsaw straight cuts. So first thing I want to do today is actually beef up this first runner. Everything's only held in place with like 2 tacks, so I need to put some more stronger tacks in there just so I know I can toss this thing about a little bit whilst I'm still working on that other runner. Okay, so we've now got the manifold back on. I've now finished tacking this runner up. So there is only 2 tacks on the flange. That's because later on I need to be able to break these runners back away to be able to TIG weld them and back purge them up. So up next, we're going to start looking at this runner here. There's going to be 2 straight sections, and I'm hoping I can get a 45 in there. So we're going to start looking at the bandsaw next. Now, when we last looked at this bandsaw, it was not going to cut straight at all. These do not come preset, and to be honest, whoa, where are we? There we go. That scale, as you can see, is fucking well out. So easiest way, it's a bit of a naughty way, but I've got my engineer's square, just gently knocked off these blade guides and just basically squared it up to the guide. So yeah, at least now we know we're going to get a straight cut out of this. Alright, so at the moment I'm just letting her do a thing. I'm having to keep running some cutting compound on there, as I don't want to murder the blade on the first fucking cutting session. Yeah, so that modified spring tension seems to be doing its job, not even assisting it, and it's on there quite nice and lightly actually. But this is like watching paint dry, so I'll be back in a minute. Right, so that actually wasn't too bad. That was only like a minute cutting, if that. So pretty much there, just waiting for it to go through. Right, so I finally got that other leg in. All I can say is what an absolute bastard that's been. So pretty much got that one spot bollock on straight away, but this piece of straight was an absolute nightmare. So don't know if we can quite see it, but the pipe is actually sort of kinked over slightly, so had to angle over here slightly, had to angle over there slightly to try and get it to drop in nicely. I mean, even now there's a wee bit of tension on that runner, but I don't think it's going to matter too much on these 2. It's when I actually go over to this other bank, that's going to be the critical point where I can't have no tension across there, because obviously that's going to pull up when I go to weld it later. The amount of fettling involved though to try and put a bit of angle on this is ridiculous. Admittedly, if I knew how to measure it properly, I could probably just adjust the vice in the bandsaw and cut it straight away with an angle, but I'm not 100% sure how to measure it properly, so I've literally whipped out this little special, and yeah, I've just been literally sanding the angles on, and I think I've been at it for nearly 2 hours just to do one bit of pipe. It's ridiculous. I mean, honestly, I'm starting to appreciate why manifold builders charge so much. So we're back on the bench again. I'm literally just going to throw down a few more tacks in here to really reinforce this up so I can welly it about a bit. And then we need to get it back in the car and just check for that bulkhead clearance again. So yeah, I don't want to go full ham before knowing if this clears. So we're back in again for the test fit. So this time I've got it on some mocked up studs just to try and hold it level, give me a better idea what's going on. So as you can see, it's extremely close down the back there. Let's get the torch on. Yeah, so that is literally a spanner's width gap. I was measuring it with this, that's 4mm. Tried slipping 5mm behind it, and it only goes so far. So yeah, I've got a pinch point just there. Now I am going to be running Group N engine mounts anyway, but I might have to do the one thing I never wanted to do in the first place, and that is clearance the bulkhead, but that's a decision for later on. For now, pretty happy with how that's coming along. So now I've got to look at putting this next runner in, and I'm thinking probably something like 90 there, bang 90 in there. As you can hear, see, it's going to be fucking tight. And then yeah, try and marry it up to this one. So I've got to try and keep this one as low as possible, because I need to be a little bit conservative on space for here, because I don't know how close the brake master servo is going to be. I've obviously got the heater matrix pipe to come up to think about as well. Hopefully it shouldn't cross paths, but I just need to keep it as tight as possible for the sake of it. Right, so I got one of the 90s back off, and this is now being edited, so I've got a clearer straight run across so I can come down and into this port. Now, Steph kindly 3D printed me this FCH10 jig, so I can literally just slot in one of these 90s and just cut away on the bandsaw. And to be honest, it's fucking spot on. It's doing exactly what I need it to. But the only thing I found, which I'll feed back to Steph, is I think this line in here needs to be shallowed out so it clamps on the pipe better. I've just managed to remedy it with a bit of tape, but it's doing its job. It's fucking spot on. That's the 90 now cut at a better angle. So I should be able to angle and sweep that in quite nicely down there now. So, oh, you can't quite see. Zoom in. But yeah, she's cut off pretty straight and in line to run parallel with this other runner here. So this is now my third day on the manifold, and as you can see, it's really taken shape. So the third runner here, I pretty much done off camera the other day, mainly because the individual, or one of the individuals I share the unit with, hi Aiden, is quite a noisy bastard when you go to record stuff, so just gaslighting you there, Aiden. But yeah, so that run is now in, and hopefully that one's done. It was a little bit of a bastard because I was really struggling with the angles in here, keeping clearance and stuff like that. Ended up with a little bit of a gap just in there, which I'm scared is going to shrink, but as you can see, so once this was welded up, I did take this off on the two flanges, and it was pulling tight on this side. So that goldy colour there, what I was doing was I had the blowtorch on that, heating it back up to normalise the metal, just so it would relax and go back to where it should be. And now I can literally just pull it on and off. A bit of fist in there. Pull it on and off. Lovely, and a piece of piss. Well, as you might be able to tell, it's quite fucking chilly down here as well. So I was doing some rough calculations from the time, and so far, 3 days in, I'm at about 20 hours. So it's fucking ridiculous making a manifold. Yeah, there's, again, back to the point of I can understand why manifold builders charge what I do. There's just so many hours in fucking fiddling. I mean, if I'm 20 hours in and she's only tacked up to that point, I reckon at a minimum I've got another 20 hours to put into it. So we're here for the long haul. But yeah, let's crack on again. So getting back to it. Next step, I'm gonna fuck this stud off here, and I'm going to do a mini stud like I have on that side, just so I've got the additional clearance. So as you can see, those runners had to come down and over the top of that. Don't really know how I'm going to do that up later on inside of the car, so let's make sure we fit it outside. But so my plan of action here, once that stud's gone, I reckon I'm going to do similar to these runners, if we can zoom in. Similar to these runners, where I've got the 45 coming off, pointing downwards, and then I've got the 90 straight out. So hopefully I can do the same here, 45, come down this way, and then come back up on myself, and try and keep it in line here. Come back over, and then over the top into that runner. So right, let's start making some stuff happen. Right, so all I'm doing here is just preheating the stainless before I now go to tack it again. So there's quite a considerable gap there. Because the stainless is cold, if I go to tack it, the weld will end up rapidly shrinking and it will pull that gap in, which I don't want, because it will end up putting tension between that flange and that flange there, making it harder to slip on the bolts. So just tease a little bit of heat in, and then I can tack it up and throw a couple more in for a bit of rigidity when I remove it on and off. But going forward, when I'm actually TIG welding this up, I'm probably going to have to do the same to try and keep the shrinkage to a minimum. Just heat is your friend in this case. Now, just as a comparator as well, so this is after doing that hot weld. You can see just how well that's taken in there compared to doing these cold tacks onto cold stainless. You can see just how blobby they are. It really just helps get the penetration in there to have preheated metal. Right, so yeah, when I'm talking about preheating the metal, it doesn't help that the fucking ambient temperature in here is fucking freezing as it is. So it's not going to be doing anything any favours. The metal's cold, everything's cold. I'm fucking cold. But yeah, quite literally you can see my own breath in here. It's like, oh, yeah, it's cold. So just take a little bit of preheat in with a butane torch. That's all I've got. I've not got map gas, but any little helps. And as we can see there, it's actually stopped that weld from shrinking back up, so it's left that gap nice and lovely in there. Now ideally we didn't want the gap, that's my poor fitting up, but these tacks should hopefully stop it shrinking up when I come to TIG weld it. I'll be TIG welding in between these tacks first, and then I'll probably grind these tacks down and cap over them. So we are pretty much there. So I've got this next leg sort of tacked in. I've left this bit long at the moment just with a single tack so I can break it back off, because we're now trying to work out the straight and the angle to go in there. So I've eyeballed it a little bit. It's roughly that, whatever the fuck that degree is, but I'm going to pop that in the jig and then we'll get that back in the bandsaw. Well, that's it. That's her all now tacked up. So you just do a quick little walk around on it. So you can see the golden colour again back in this top pipe. Just heated both pipes up again, just to normalise the metal, let it settle where it wants to, hopefully so it pulls off and on the head a hell of a lot easier. But yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in there. I mean, if anything, this last pipe just looks basic as fuck compared to the other three, but I'm fucking well chuffed with it. So next step, gonna have to get that test fitted in the old gal. Literally now preparing the manifold to be test fitted into the car, and I just had to stop for a second because this one was something I just had to appreciate. So the reason why I've been heating this up, annealing, stuff like that, it had pulled tight. It was pulling tight on the studs and everything. And yeah, just going to show basically what heating up the runners, letting them cool down naturally, will actually achieve. And that is the fact that it has now normalised itself to the point of it fucking slides on and off so easy. Bit of a pain to do one-handed because this thing weighs a ton, but I mean, just dead straight across there. Hopefully we can keep that up as I TIG weld it. Right, let's get a test fitted. Right, well, she's in. I ended up having to jack the car up, support the sump, and whipping the top engine mount off to lean the block forward enough to get it on. I mean, space is super tight. Also had to cut some studs down because I just couldn't thread it over the original ones. But right, enough fucking jibber jabber. Let's have a proper fucking look. So I did have a few comments off people. I've been putting a few pictures of this up on social media as I've been welding it, as I've been doing it literally on my donor engine. And the comments were, why are you routing the pipes like that, blah de blah de blah. Well, now you can see, I mean, the one hidden down the back there, we've only got like 4 or 5 mil clearance as it is from this main bulkhead support. So the one thing I didn't want to do, I may have to end up clearancing that. But apart from everything else, we miss heater matrix pipe there. Obviously this top heater matrix pipe, that's got nipped in. Going to end up having to modify that. That's going to have to be ran across the top of the bulkhead, down, and then back round. I mean, I don't even know what to say about this myself. It's turned out better than I could imagine, put it that way. Moving forward, I am a little bit scared to start TIG welding it, because obviously shrinkage of the welds, stuff like that, this thing is going to want to move. At the moment it's on 2 separate flanges and they sit perfectly parallel, because I've been heat controlling and annealing the metal as I go to get it to pull back straight. But yeah, even I'm fucking chuffed with that job. So obviously turbo's going to end up sat here. I need to finish the end of the manifold off, so I'm not going to jump the gun too much. That's going to be TIG welded up first to make sure it doesn't move or anything like that. But the choices are basically, do I just plant a V-band straight on the end, which will bring the pipework out diagonal across here, or do I keep it nice tight to the block, keep it looking like a well packaged machine, 45, run it straight up here, and then I can put a 90 into the turbo, and then it's all just nice tight part of the block, looks like it's supposed to be. Right, so the final food for thought on this, just before I call it a day. So this is 3-inch pipe. It's going to be the considerations on my downpipe. Now we look down there, that is bloody tight. I'm somehow hoping I might be able to get 3-inch sort of in there somehow, and then down and round and into the tunnel. Not quite sure. 2.5 inch is more realistic. I think I'd still make the power I want on 2.5 inch, but it's just what's going to work best for the build. So obviously I might have to relocate these off now, move all my brake lines elsewhere. At the time this looked kind of neat, but it doesn't no more. So what more can I say really? Ending this one on a bit of a high. I'm proper happy with how that all fits. I can't even lie about it. I am, however, bloody tired, and I think that's going to be my cue to call it a night. So cheers for watching. I hope you enjoyed actual progress this time, and tune in next time. So give us a like and subscribe, that'd be nice. Don't want to sound like one of those typical YouTubers, but yeah, cheers guys.